Hello, welcome to my video. Today, I'll introduce a new early game strategy that I've been using. And to answer the title of the video, yes, and it's actually very consistent. I'll be using the footage of 4 different runs on this video. You can identify them on the top left corner of the screen. I will also be uploading all 4 runs mashed up into a single unedited video if you want to check it out. Starting with the requirements, you will need a good stack of twigs and grass. This will be used for both emergency torches and emergency beefalo food. A prototyped opulent pickaxe and materials to make more for the ruins statues. You will also be needing a shovel, more about that later. A lantern, which will be your main light source. For protection, I strongly recommend a combination of marble suits and football helmets. 1 suit should be enough, but I advise you to bring 2 if you are able to. You can substitute these for log suits, but keep in mind that it breaks super fast, and you will need to heal more often. I also recommend prototyping a hambat and bringing 2 fresh meats for a new one. Hopefully, you won't be needing it. This is just an emergency measure. I usually don't go to the ruins without living logs, since I want to live with at least 1 star color staff. If you are having trouble finding a totally normal tree, starting at day 4, you can chop dead trees for a 1.3% chance of getting a tree guard. And the last requirements are beefalo bell, saddle, and a beefalo. Totally optional, but you can bring a salt lick in case you don't want to cheese the ancient guardian. Once you have everything, you can feed the beefalo a few twigs, use the bell and the saddle on it, and go to the caves. Now it's a great time to talk about Beefalo Domestication and the mod I'm using. The mod is called Beefalo Widget. It's a server mod that shows you the beefalo's HP, domestication, obedience, and even how long until you get thrown off its back. It's an amazing tool since it gives you a lot of control of dangerous situations by knowing when you have to reset the right timer and, of course, when to feed it. The mod is not needed in any way, but it's certainly helpful. Oversimplifying how to tame a beefalo, as long as obedience is above 50, you can ride it. And if it gets below 40, the saddle will be shaken off, losing some durability. For safety, you want obedience above 60 or 70 at all times, and you want to feed it every time you can. But what to feed it? Well, you can give your twigs and grass a rest, since you can just feed it light bulbs all the way. Every light bulb fed will give your beefalo 10 obedience. Since you can easily find tons of it in the caves, feeding your beefalo is not gonna be an issue. You can also give lichen and even foliage if you want to. Lichen is amazing since it also restores its health. Your first goal will be domesticating your beefalo until around 15%. Higher domestication means you can ride it longer. At 15%, you will get around 40 seconds of ride time, which will be good enough for you to enter the ruins. If you're not using the mod I'm using, it's about 3 or 4 days of riding and feeding it. Since you have some time to kill, you can make great usage of the speed boost to clear a lot of the caves. You can use this time to find the ruins and, most importantly, blue mushrooms. This is the moment for that shovel. Dig up some mushrooms when you find them, as it will be your main healing source. I've been bringing around 20, but they end up spoiling before being used, so you don't need that many. Beefalo gets 4 times the healing value for any healing foods, meaning a blue mushroom will restore 80 of its health. Also take your time to grab a lot of carrots from the bunny main areas, as it will be your main food source. Now that you have acquired everything, it's time to raid. It's important to know that beefalos will absorb the damage you take, but there are 2 exceptions here that will attack the player directly: slurpers and bishops. Slurpers are not particularly dangerous, but they will jump into the player's head and do their thing. The armor you brought is specifically to deal with the bishops. On several areas, including the science station, there will be a couple of them, and there is nothing you can do besides tanking. But using marble suits makes you barely lose HP and you don't even get speed reduction because of the Beefalo. Non-domesticated Beefalos are not strong creatures. Their damage is 34, so every time you fight, make sure you have enough right time and try to kite as best as you can. They are not strong, but they are resistant. You can sometimes just tank a small group of enemies, but they have their limits, so be careful. The moments where you need to be extra careful is when resetting the right timer. If something attacks a Beefalo during that time, it can be game over for it. If that happens, the Beefalo will not let you ride or feed it and will fight its enemy until death. The only thing you can do is running away with the bell, which will force him to go wherever the bell is. Now it's time for Ancient Guardian. If you plan on not choosing it, you can just find a nice calm spot for your Beefalo to rest, build the salt lick and leave the bell there. If you were planning on choosing it, it works just fine. A small heads up if you are trying this method is that you will need to leave the ruins to gather some light bulbs again. Even if you brought 2 stacks, you will be using them a lot to feed the Beefalo and to restore your lantern. And that's besides their short spoilage time. And now for the final thoughts. Using this method, beside all of the Great Ruins items, you'll also get a Beefalo at around 50% domestication. I usually have a busy first winter, mainly fighting bosses, therefore I'm not focusing on fully domesticating the Beefalo. But I always end up completing domestication before spring. With a Beefalo, not only you will be able to explore the map super fast, you will also be able to move the marble pieces. You can also use a pig backpack without its downsides and easily fight smaller mobs without danger. But the low damage can be painful. It's unlikely that you will completely clear the ruins, since most of the time you want to avoid combats. It feels very safe to rush the ruins like this, since your Beefalo will need a lot more healing than you do. And obviously, after fighting so many enemies, you will not have a chance of getting any other Beefalo than Ornery. And this is now my favorite way to start a new world. And that's it for this video. As always, thank you for watching.